Morris Smith, owner of Stop Restoration of Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Be here, glad to be here.
All right, well, it's very nice to meet you. I just want to dive in really quick to a little bit more about you and about your ownership of your Stop Restoration franchise. Tell me how long you and your wife Lisa have owned Stop Restoration of Fort Worth West.
Um, we finished 5 years in July, so we're working on year 6 now.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank
That's a huge anniversary there.
Well, they say making it past the first year is the big hurdle. I don't know about that, but every year seems to be a hurdle. But yeah, we're glad we're still here, especially after COVID. A lot of people didn't make it through, keep their businesses intact during COVID, I should say.
That's right. No, everybody had to really adjust. Well, I'm going to get back to actually, I thought about asking you too, Texas specific question that I didn't mention before about the snowpocalypse that happened during COVID. I think that's an interesting one. So let's get back to that. But let's start with first, why was it that you guys started looking at a franchise when you were thinking about doing something different and opening a new business?
Yeah, so I think timing was everything, right? I was not specifically looking for a restoration company. I just knew I needed to do something. It was time for me to get back to work, and it was really apparent that I wasn't going to be able to go back to a corporate setting, and so we started looking for opportunities for me to do something. And I actually happened to connect with a franchise broker who I had spoken with 2 or 3 years prior. Um, and for whatever reason, she happened to call me. I don't even know if she remembered I was, somebody she'd spoken to in the past. And since I was looking for a franchise at that time versus when she originally called, timing was great. She showed me, I'm going to say 3 or so different franchises. I actually had settled on one. And then when we were about to sort of move forward on that one that I had decided to go with, she said, hold on, let me show you one more. I just want you to take a quick look at it. And it happened to be Stop
Is
Restoration.
that right? Okay.
And it all came together. So there's, from my perspective, there's definitely some divine intervention there. God has a plan for me.
Oh, no, that's the truth. And jump into what you just said, kind of springboarding off that. You said that she showed you Stop Restoration. Was there one thing or two things that you remember that really pushed you to change your mind from, it sounded like going down one path and then instead going with Stop?
Yeah. Well, I have some background in, light construction and renovations and that sort of thing.
Right.
So while it's much different work, some of the skill sets are the same. And so there was a level of familiarity with that. Um, I had settled on another franchise called Concrete Craft. They make stamped paved concrete, inside and outside. And I think talking with the ownership at the time of the franchise really kind of had a big impact on me. The the revenue potential, income potential, the type of support that I thought I would get at the time. All of those sort of played a factor in. Okay, this is the one. And again, prayer, right? It comes
Yeah.
in everything. So
No, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, inarguably, I think starting a business, going out on that entrepreneurial limb, takes guts and gumption and a lot of faith. So I think you were right in seeking some wisdom. Speaking of that, now that you're in it and you've crossed that 5 year, now 6 year anniversary, so what is your favorite part of owning your own business? And then also, what's your favorite part of owning your own Stop Restoration business?
so my favorite part of actually owning the business is being able to provide jobs to other folks. I really get a big sense of reward out of that because through my efforts, they're able to provide for their families. And so it's kind of a trickle down. So I get a big sense of reward out of that. Favorite part about a Stop Restoration franchise in general is there's a sense of camaraderie amongst not only the owners, but the franchise folks too. We're all very transparent with one another. People are free to speak their minds. I don't know if that would ever be a problem for me anyway, but it's a very comfortable environment where, there's no fear, you can do what you need to, say what you need to, and everyone will be there to support one another.
And I know you and I have spoken about this before, and you've mentioned this in previous interviews. How many families are you supporting? How many employees do you have on your team at any given time, during the year?
It varies. I think right about now we're probably at 10, around 10. Um, but yeah, 10 or 12, somewhere around there. But it goes up and down. We probably had as many as 18 to 20 people working for us. And then we've had times when, it was just Lisa and I, and maybe one temp person, if we had work, they'd come and work for us. Thankfully, and hopefully those days are behind us. And we won't ever have to go back to that.
Well, not to bring that up, but the flip side of my coin of this question was, what's the most difficult part of owning your business, owning your shop?
It never stops. It never shuts down. There's no such thing as work-life balance. There's no going to work and then going home and turning it off.
Right. No separation.
Yeah, and it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, awake or asleep. I'm thinking about the business. I'm thinking about the challenges. I'm thinking about the decisions that need to be made. It's just nonstop. I never get to really turn it off. Now that may be something that's a function of how I'm wired. I'm sure there are guys out there that, can leave it all at the office or leave most of it at the office, or maybe they have, enough staff and support staff where they're not as involved in the operations of the business as I am, which is great. But we're just not there yet.
Gotcha. Well, you're building it, and I mean, this is something that knowing you wouldn't probably bring up, but I'm going to because I think this is a natural transition to the fact that I know you're a veteran. Thank you for your service. Member of the Navy. So that discipline, that training that you learned in the military, how does that translate over to running this business and leading a team? How does that correlate at all?
There's no quitting. Everybody fights, no one quits. It's Starship Troopers reference, but everybody just does what they have to do, and that's kind of part of our culture within our company. Is everybody plays the game, everyone steps up. There's no dead weight. There's no room for dead weight. So either you pull your weight and you provide an ROI on your salary, or this isn't the right place for you, because there's nowhere to hide. In a corporate setting, you have people that come and they'll spend 10, 15, 20 years just keeping your head down and kind of coasting. You can't do that here. And we don't have the kind of people that would ever want to do that here. So that's kind of, what stands out to me.
Yeah, I know you sound like you're very proud of your team, and I've gotten to meet some of them. Brag for me a little bit about your team. I know you're proud of them. Talk about it just a little bit.
Yeah, so we won the International Franchise Award last for 2021, which is, from what I'm told now, I come to find out is a pretty big deal. So that was really special. And we would not have been able to, I certainly would not have been able to do that on my own. That's a direct result of the folks that are working in the company, whether it's the technicians out in the fields or the person answering the phone. And, having been doing this for 5 years and starting where it was literally just Lisa and I, one of the big milestones for me was when I could go and take a weekend off to go see the grandkids, and I guess their parents too. But I can take 2 or 3 days to go and see them, because prior to that, if we weren't in the office, business shut down. If we went to the conference for the franchise, we pretty much had to shut down the business or schedule it where we not scheduled, but make sure there was no active jobs in play when this conference was scheduled. Now I can go take 3, 4, 5 days, and I know that things will still continue to function, wheels will turn, and revenue will be generated. So that's, again, a direct result of the people that I have working in the company.
Gosh, that's amazing. Congratulations on that because it's not easy to find and build a team and keep it.
Yeah, it took 5 years, but that's another.
Yes. Well, let me toss you one last question real quick before I get back to Snowpocalypse because I want to hear about that craziness. So, actually, let's do Snowpocalypse and then I'll close out with my larger stop restoration question. So, I'm in Texas, so I know because I experienced it firsthand that week of no power,
Mhm.
-2 degree temperatures, which for us is crazy because we don't keep firewood. We don't know about, how to stay warm, and we can tell you how to survive heat, but staying warm, that's another story. So, talk to me about what that they called it, what, 150-year blizzard, I think is what they called it for that area. What did that mean for your business, for your team, supporting the community in a definitely a pretty desperate time of need, I would say, right? Talk to me about going through that, I guess.
There are a lot of conflicting feelings with that entire event.
Sure.
Business wise, it was great for us. It really was. It was wonderful for us from a business perspective. The phone just rang and rang and rang. We wound up having to turn off all of our lead generation sources. Um, we stopped answering the office phone because we had a list of 68 jobs pending. Um, and I didn't want to give anyone false hope and say, "Yep, we'll put you on the list. We'll be there." At a certain point, we just needed to sort of disconnect and work the list we had as best as we could. There were other challenges. Staffing was, of course, a challenge. The roads were iced, and so you really can. It's difficult to sort of have people leave their homes, drive to work, and then drive to a client's house when the roads are icy. And is it safe? Is it not safe for the employees? Um, and then equipment was the biggest problem in the region. Even if you had people willing and able to work, there just wasn't enough equipment to go around. There weren't enough dehumidifiers, there weren't enough fans, there weren't enough air, there just was not enough. Um, and so that was a big challenge for everyone in the industry in the region. And the thing was, you couldn't even order equipment because the roads were iced. So the semis wouldn't deliver, pallets and that sort of thing. But we made it through it. And I'll probably say the first 7 to 10 days we were working water jobs. And then the next 12, 13 months, we were working mold jobs from that event. I think we had a mold job a week ago that was a result of the snowpocalypse that,
Is that right?
just,
More than a year and a
yeah,
half
yeah.
later. Wow.
There were no, none of this stuff was properly dried out. And so people are still finding, mold contamination from that event.
Well, thank you for talking to me about that. I feel like that's a pretty unique situation during the middle of COVID that you guys as business owners went through. So I just wanted to highlight that and hear your thoughts on that. My closeout thought for this, my closeout question is, what does being a part of Stop Restoration as a franchise owner within that system um, mean for you, ability to grow your business, ability to get support? And then same question, now being a part of Authority Brands with that perspective and that larger resources tab. Just talk to me a little bit about being a part of Stop Restoration, how that has supported you growing your business.
And the word you use, support, is really key. Um, I'm a person, I didn't start a business for somebody else to tell me how to run it, what to do, or what to buy, or how much I can charge. It's kind of like the government. Just stay out of my way. I'm glad you're there, but stay out of my way. When I need you, I'll let you know. And Stop, in many ways, is like that. They're always there to support me. Um, I can pick up the phone day or night and call and, call some senior people in the organization and they'll answer the phone day or night. And there's a lot of value in that. But at the same time, nobody's trying to tell me how to run the business. If I don't want to talk to them, they're not going to pressure me. They're not going to hassle me. They're going to be like, hey, all right, Morris, here's a suggestion, but it's up to you to do what you want to do. And so for me and how I want to run the business, that's a great match. I know they're there. They're very helpful. They're forthcoming with help, guidance, advice. They encourage you. They recognize, the work we're doing, but they're not obtrusive. They don't get in the way. Working with authority brands, and for us, that's relatively new. I don't think it's been 2 years yet. It's maybe a little over a year that we've become a part of authority brands. I still have the small company feel and culture. I think that extends into authority brands, which again, I've spent most of my life working in corporate America for some of the largest companies in the country. So I don't want that. I prefer to have a small company feel with big company resources, which is what Authority Brands has brought to the table. In the past year or so that we've been a part of them, I've seen some pretty significant investment in software to help us be more successful. There have been significant improvements in training that, I know those come with a pretty steep price tag. And in fact, there was one training program that they implemented with a company called REITs, Drying Academy. They do training in our field, which of course is restoration. And we have been looking at some of the REITs curriculum, and I had decided I just couldn't bring myself to spend the money. It was just too much. I just couldn't do it. Not that it wasn't worth it, not that there wasn't value. I just couldn't spend the money. It's like a Mercedes-Benz. Yep, no, I'm sure that's worth $150,000 for the one I like anyway. But I just can't do it. You don't spend that kind of money on a car. So fast forward, I think maybe it was 2-3 months after I kind of made the decision that we didn't want to go down that road, that Authority Brands announced, hey guys, we're making this available to you. No cost, no additional cost to the franchises. That sort of thing is amazing. We had marketing training in Plano, Texas, I think a month ago, maybe a little more, about a month ago, which is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half from our shop. And, folks from Authority Brands put it together, came to Plano. I was able to send my marketing people up to see it. I went and, attended and participated. Those are things that we just didn't have prior to becoming part of Authority Brands. And so for me, there's a lot of value add that they're bringing to the table that I recognize. And so that's kind of what they bring to me. It's still a sense of a small, intimate's not the right word, but a small company where everyone knows everyone. Even if someone doesn't know me, they might know my name. And they bring some really significant resources to the table while maintaining the culture, which for me is a win.
I think it's very well said. I just really appreciate your time and thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And it was really, really nice to get to know you and for opening up to let other people get to know you too. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure. Glad you asked. Thank you.